To be a good father is the most important job in a man's life, but it doesn't have to be hard. Play catch, go to a park or visit a zoo. Help your child with their homework. Sit down together for dinner. Ask them how their day was. Things get busy, and sometimes we all fall short. But the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Thanks for tuning in today and joining us on Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest today, Tom Alexander. Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thanks for being with us today. Tom is a minister at Fairfield Christian Church, long-time minister. You've been there how long now?
13 years. Yeah.
Enjoy it every day?
Absolutely. I love what I get to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There are very few people who do that, though. You know that, really? I mean, I know a handful of people who really enjoy what they do every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm one of them.
You're one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to talk about drug issues in Fairfield County, Ohio's opiate epidemic. And I know as a minister, you have been heavily involved in some local causes and some local task force, but you recently just came back from a seminar in Columbus.
Right. Right. Yeah. It was called the Ohio's epidemic task force. It was the opiate task force in Ohio, and there was a lot of people there. I think they were expecting about 400 folks, and they ended up having about 1,000 people that showed up, and it was quite amazing. And Fairfield County was represented well there, so I was very, very happy.
And we're very fortunate because Orman Hall
That's right.
Is now involved at the state level.
That's right, and he's done a wonderful job here at our local ADAM board. And in fact, I am part of the ADAM board. One of the ADAM board members there, and so we're very proud of Orman and what he's accomplishing for the state. And quite honestly, the Fairfield County has become sort of a model. What's been going on here is starting to be seen as a model for the whole state. So that's very exciting.
I know Judge Trimmer has a drug court that he's been involved with, but we'll talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
Reality. People don't accept that we have a problem in Fairfield County.
Right, right. Yeah, there really is a problem. For me, I think a lot of us live, we have our friends, our neighbors, the people that we know, and everybody, you kind of hang out. Like for us in church, you kind of hang out with church people, or friends, clubs, civic clubs, local organizations. But there's a whole nother level. There's a whole nother thing that's going on in Fairfield County. A lot of us are not aware of, and that is there's this huge drug problem. And I think they say in the high schools maybe about 25 to 30% of the kids have taken prescription drugs without without the prescription, and you just look at those things and you go, a lot of kids are involved, but there's a lot of people that are getting addicted, and we're seeing that number is just increasing, and in fact there's absolutely people dying as a result of accidental drug overdoses. And that's just very alarming. It's very alarming.
And one of the statistics that we were researching, the number of motor vehicle fatalities is now second to poisoning. Is that correct?
That's right. That's absolutely true. The number, the statistics that I've seen here is that back in 1999, to 2008, I mean it's been about a 350% increase of deaths in the state of Ohio, and that's just alarming. So like in Ohio, there were 325 fatal unintentional drug overdoses in 1999, and then in 2008 there were 1,473. So every year there's over 1,400 people in the state of Ohio that are dying because of this problem.
What's the most common, and again, as a minister, you deal with people and families, the most common answer, oh, we don't have a problem, or my child doesn't have a problem, or I don't have a problem? Or...
You know, I think there is a lot of denial. I think, I know for me, you know, it's very easy to want to not see for us in our families to see a problem. And so, you know, we see our kids, you know, coming in, and maybe they've got a little, you know, there's a change in their behavior, or the grades are starting to go down, or there's a change in, you know, just their attitude about life or whatever.
Are there factors you can look at? I mean, are there like 5 factors or 6 factors?
I don't know.
You talk about grades and attitude.
Yeah,
and...
I mean, those are absolutely things. I think, you know, just friends. I think you cannot underestimate the power of the peer in high school, for sure. You know, who are you hanging out with? You know, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And you know, it's like what friends are our kids hanging out with? So who are the people that are involved? So that's one level of it, is just the pressure that there is to experiment. I think a lot of kids and young adults, which is really where a lot of this is hitting, and that's so terrible, isn't it? That it's some of the young adults that are caught up in this. But it starts out of just curiosity. I'll try it once. You know, it's not going to hurt me. No big deal. And then what happens? They get a feeling and they like it, and then they want to do it again. But the problem is that then pretty soon it becomes more and more of an addiction, and it's just a terrible thing. And it's not just, you know, the thing I've noticed as a pastor too. It's not just you know, you think, well, this only happens to certain people, right? It never happened to me, right? And that's just not true. You know, within our church and even personally, you know, I mean, these things happen, you know, in our own families, and good people, good families. These things are going on. So,
well, we talked earlier about a local task force that you're involved with.
I'm actually not involved in the task force, but I am part of the Adam board, and I've noticed there's a lot of great things that are going on in Fairfield County. Tricia Saunders actually had a chance to report on that. She's from the Recovery Center. She got to do this at the summit for the state of Ohio up in Columbus, and just talked about how the community here has really come together. What's happened is law enforcement, the medical community. I know Fairfield Medical Center has been very involved. The sheriff, as well as the police departments, have all come together. The courts, like you mentioned, Dave Trimmer and others with the drug courts. I think there's an effort in the faith community as well. We had just a few months ago, the faith community came together and we had a prayer meeting over this issue, and there were about 300 folks that came together for that prayer meeting. So there's a lot of intentional effort in the county to raise awareness of the problem and to also address the problem here in Fairfield County.
Now, we talked about there's a FaithBased Summit coming up too. Is that in May?
Well, we actually had a prayer meeting that was back in January, and we met over at the Lancaster United Brethren Church. And there were probably, I would say, about 8 or 9 different churches from the community represented. Their pastors were there. And we watched the video. It's called Hooked, that was produced just right here in Fairfield County.
Great video.
Awesome. And I tell you, if people haven't seen that, understand there's a 30-minute version. There's also a 10-minute version that can be shown in different organizations and groups. But it really raises the awareness of the problem right here in Fairfield County. And so we watched that, we saw that, and then we had an opportunity to, you know, pray over it, and we heard some testimony as well from, you know, somebody whose daughter was going through this terrible thing. And so it's the awareness, I think, is raising, and you know, before you can attack a problem, you got to know you have a problem, right?
Right.
I mean, you're not going to get motivated unless you believe you've got a problem. Right. And we do. We've got a problem.
And I know we were talking a little bit about the local level, the state level, and even the federal level. I mean, it's becoming much more aware. I mean, there's always been a drug issue,
right?
But it's now all three
Right.
phases are, this is a problem.
Right.
We need to deal with it.
Yeah, in fact, at the the Ohio Summit, Governor Kasich was there, and he did a, he just said, look, we are responsible. We're going to be responsible someday before God. To do something about this, and what is it we're going to do? And so, even on the state level, there's a lot of things that are in place right now and are getting pushed through. I know there's a it's called let's see, what is it called? House Bill 93 that's being pushed through, and this is there's a pharmacist and a medical doctor that are both working on this House bill. They're just guys, but they say we got to do something about this.
Does that surprise you that people are stepping up saying we've got a problem?
It's
more and more people are volunteering to be on these committees.
Right. It's surprising, yeah, but it's also it shows the character and the quality of people we have, I think, in Fairfield County and in the state of Ohio. People care. People really do care about this, and we're watching. If something isn't done, then our future is really, really hampered here. We can't let this get out of control and ruin the lives of so many people, because I think almost now, it used to be you could say, okay, is everybody here, do you have somebody in your family that's affected by cancer? And most, and it used to be, it's like it didn't seem to be that big a deal. Now more people can say, you know what, yeah, somebody in my family directly affected by cancer. Now I think that same question goes out, is anybody in your family have a problem with drugs, have a drug addiction? And I think more and more and more, about everybody in the room is able to raise their hand and say, you know what, yeah, there's somebody that I know or somebody that's related to me that has this issue. And so more and more people are becoming personally affected, and I think that's a big motivation for getting something done. So
I know there's another organization it's OARS, OARS.
That's
Talk
right.
a little bit about that.
Well, my understanding is it's an automated system that the doctors are now working on, and in fact, it's already established in the state of Ohio. But part of this House Bill 93, my understanding, is that it's going to require doctors and everybody get on board and make reporting. So if I'm a doctor and I'm prescribing a certain medication to an opiate to my patient, then I have to get on this system and log it in that I'm prescribing this medication to that patient. So then when that same person, because what happens is a lot of these folks, even we have what they call pill mills, which are just doctors that may just be one doctor, no medical staff, sees 73 patients a day. Well, something's going on there, right? They're just giving out prescriptions is what's happening. And so what can result is that you can see who's abusing the system. You can see, okay, here's a person that came to this doctor and they got this prescription. Now they went to this doctor and got the same thing. This doctor got the same thing. And so they're really working on the supply side of it, because that's a big part of the problem.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Is the supply side of it. It's not just the people that are abusing it, but the readily accessibility of the stuff. So that's very exciting. I think that'll be a big piece to seeing it happen.
I've been very fortunate. All the injuries I've had and all the my medical experiences in the last 2 years, I've had very good doctors that have said, no, you don't. This is a narcotic. It's habit forming. Stay away from this. I'm not going to prescribe it for you. This is what. And I know that once people get hooked, it's difficult to get off.
That's right.
Do you, at the time of counseling with people, how do you address it? I mean, is it we told you were making a mistake, or I mean everybody is different, but I'm sure parents are, how do I talk to my child? How do I talk to my brother, my sister?
Right. Well, of course there has to be compassion, and I think that's just huge. I think the other thing is accountability and information, and you really have to understand that an addiction, it's really, really hard to overcome. And people will lie. People will not tell you that. I mean, they will do everything they can when they're hooked in order to get drugs. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible thing. And really, we're not going to be able to overcome this without some very intensive efforts from the medical community, from the counseling community. I mean, our recovery center is inundated. I hear from Trish Saunders that, people want to go to the recovery center, right, and get the help they need, and they're put on a waiting list for 3 to 6 months. And you're saying, what, really? You can't get in to get, so here's somebody that's addicted, that's terribly in need, and yet they can't get in because there just isn't enough funding. There's not enough, there's not enough help. And so, these are things we're going to have to grapple with, and we're going to have to, come to terms with, because again, people are dying.
Right. And I know there's a large advocacy of people that build more prisons, put the drug people away. And again, from your standpoint, you're looking at, the compassion side of things. What do we?
Well, I think there's got to be a law side too. I mean, there's got to be. You've got to. I think there are some people who are addicted who will say, well, 7 days in jail, that's no big deal. I'll do that. And so I also understand that law enforcement has to come down hard on this, and there's got to be a penalty, and especially again on the supply side of it. When there are people that are pushing this stuff, I mean, they need to understand that there's going to be some serious consequence for their actions, so that less and less people are willing to take that risk to do it. So we've got to have some tough laws, I think, on it. And then people that get into the jails, I hope that there will be more help on that level, because I know that there are people that are addicted that are in prisons. Of course, they have to come out of their addiction or whatever. But then, can we supply, even while they're in prison, counseling, help, support to be able to help them come up with some things? And I know there's a lot of good things like that, but we just need to keep focusing, I think, on the recovery, even while people are in jail.
One of the issues at the federal level is we talk about money and funding. It's not there, but state by state, each state is slowly developing their own boundaries. I know Florida has. They're working on a couple different things. Talk a little bit about as you travel and you meet other ministers from other states, and how are they addressing the drug issue?
I honestly say that a lot of ministries, like I know Rick Warren has a ministry called Celebrate Recovery. That is a wonderful ministry of the church, and I know that there are some churches in our area that do that. I think the churches are saying, what can we do? And so one of the things that we can do is have support groups in our churches, and to say, hey, if you're dealing with this, we do have an alternative here for you to come get help, the help that you might need. And so that's one of the ways it's being addressed. Beyond that, I just think that every minister understands that really we understand there is a way out, and that's absolutely through a relationship with Jesus Christ. And when you have that conversion, that transformation in your life, the Lord helps us overcome our addictions. So, and obviously, you can only hope and pray that people that are going through something like this find a faith alternative, whatever faith alternative that is. I mean, of course, I'm a minister of Jesus Christ. I know that that's the way, but people have to, find, the sense of what's that emptiness, what's the thing that you're trying to fill, that addiction with. And that if that doesn't go away, if there's not hope, if there's not something to push forward toward, that's going to give you, a hope beyond what you're experiencing now, and the hurt, the pain that you're trying to mask or cover up. So I think a lot of it has to do with people that are you're just trying to avoid pain in your life. And we've got to come back to understanding that pain is not necessarily
Right.
the worst thing.
Mm-hmm.
The pain is there for a reason. It's like, okay, I've got this pain. What's
Right.
the reason behind it? Whether it's psychological or spiritual or even physical. You know, you don't want to just mask pain
Sure.
physically when you've got a problem that might need corrected. So,
We're talking with Tom Alexander, a minister at Fairfield Christian Church, talking about the drug epidemic problem here, not only in Fairfield County, but in Ohio and across the nation. Do you find that when you talk to people, they reject, I don't need religion, this isn't about that, this is, you know, I have a problem with this?
right. Well, you know, for me, when people come to me, they're basically saying, I want God's help as a minister, right? And that's one of the first questions. Why do you come to me?
Right.
You know, well, and when we establish that, then I can go for that. So, you know, I don't really see that many people, honestly, that don't want God's help. So, but what I am saying is there are a lot of people that are saying yes. I mean, I need help. I'll take it from wherever I can get it.
Do you think, we talked about a 3 to 6 month waiting at the recovery center.
Yeah.
Do you see that the churches filling that role with not being certified counselors, you know, just, okay, you need to talk to somebody. Until we can get you in a program, you need to talk to somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, pastors are trained to talk with people and be there for them and help. I mean, we're skilled helpers, and I think that absolutely we are here as a resource for the community. That's absolutely true. So, you know, we're here.
And it's we talked about it knows no barriers, income levels, socioeconomic backgrounds.
That's right.
It doesn't have. Do you remember the first time you talked to someone and you thought, "Whoa," about drugs? And were you ready for it? Were you thinking, "Wait a minute, I'm going to have to go talk to somebody else"?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all need. You know, I did not experiment with drugs growing up myself, so that's not something that I have a personal understanding of.
Is that
But-
hard to talk? Do people respect that yes, I'm honest about this? Or?
You know what, I think they do, but you know, people that have been through something are often better able to help somebody who's going through that same thing. So, you know, do they respect that? I think, again, they respect the fact that, you know, that I have something to say, or that I know, you know, I know what it is when people hurt and how to help that and how to, again, give hope and perspective on life and all those kinds of things. But as far as actually overcoming the addiction, I mean, there's a lot of trouble with that. And you know, first of all, you know, people have to get leveled out. Even they've got to be able to get off of it, and that's a huge problem in and of itself. That really needs medical attention. It needs somebody that can prescribe drugs that can help, and you know, that kind of thing. So,
Did you ever think, sitting here today, 20 years ago, that when you were entering the ministry and that the drug epidemic would be what it is?
no, I didn't. I never had that thought. There's a lot about the culture in the last 20 years that has surprised and disappointed me as far as where our culture is going.
Just such as disappointment. I mean, things that you're growing up thinking, "Boy, this is what I value. This is
Yeah.
what I want to do." And
Marriage. I mean, just the devaluation of marriage in our society is just sad to me. I mean, the cohabitation rates that are there, and just the sad thing that does for me, for kids that are, you know, growing up. You know, there's just so many, you know, so much division and heartache in family life, and it's just a hard thing. And it's challenging being a single parent and all those kinds of things. And so, you know, as you may or may not know, I've been part of a healthy marriage initiative here in Fairfield County, and just wanting as much as possible to see, you know, any marriage that can be restored to be restored. No, sometimes that can't happen, and that's understandable. Abuse, other things like that. But when it can, it's the very best thing for everyone involved. Yeah. So.
That's when, again, growing up, Millersburg, if I remember
Millersburg,
right.
Ohio.
Millersburg, Ohio.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, it's, did you think that you were going to be a minister someday? Is that what you
Yeah.
wanted to be? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was a kid, I knew. Absolutely, when I was age 9, it was just as simple as this. What do I want to do when I grow up? I want to help people. What's the best way I can help people? Help them know Jesus. What's the best way to do that? Be a minister. That was it. And since then I've lived in metropolitan areas. I helped start a church up near Chicago.
Right.
There's a lot of issues, of course, up in that area too. I've lived in the Louisville area. Lancaster is a wonderful mix of kind of both, and I love Fairfield County. I just think it's a wonderful place to live, and I just don't want to see Fairfield County change too much from those traditional values that we hold as a community, as a community of faith. And I tell you, this is just, these kind of things really attack when you see people hurt, when you see kids and young people addicted to drugs, and you just see the wasted opportunities and potential and future that has. It's just a terrible thing. I know one of the things that has happened here just recently is the governor is talking about money that's just been made available to all of the boards, the ADAM boards in the state, that is to put people back to work. Now, I know you would be interested in that, Mike, and I want to talk with you sometime, maybe off camera about that. But
glad to.
But it's like how do we get these young people? Because again, Trish Saunders, as she's talked to us at the ADAM board, she says her average client there is 25, 26 years old. All right, at the recovery center.
Sure.
So, how do you get these people meaningfully employed once they have been addicted? And just the problem that even in the community, it's like, well, if I'm an employer, if you're an employer in our community, and I have 2 resumes on my desk, one is stellar, one is, well, here's a stellar guy, same qualifications, but oh, by the way, he's got this conviction for a drug problem in his past, or those kinds of things. I mean, how quickly do we just say, okay,
right,
I'm going to take the guy that's never had this problem in his past, or woman in her past. And so, we've got to somehow work on a different level on the stigma that's associated with this. And drug addiction is like any other illness. It is an illness, and it can be overcome, and you can get better out of that illness, and you can recover from it, right? And so then, but once you recover, where's the opportunity for that person to be meaningfully employed? And I think each person that's able needs to really look deep into their psyche and say, and I know, especially in these times, it's the bottom line. You got to make money. You can't take risks, and I know all of that. But is there a way?
Right.
Is there something?
Right.
Is there something that we can do? And maybe, I don't know if maybe some money could be used to give incentive to employers to say, okay, if you'll hire somebody that's had an addiction, maybe there's maybe there's $2,000 or $3,000 that'll be there at the beginning.
Well, that's
there
a topic for another show. That's a topic for another show.
Yeah, absolutely.
We only have just a few minutes left. Yeah. Well, again, we're talking with Tom Alexander. In the bleakness of this, do you see returning of generations to core values of when you and I grew up, and our brothers and sisters grew up, and even our parents grew up, that going back to the basics of life?
Yeah, I mean that's our hope. It really is, and making those values of family, just a core value, I think, is just a huge thing in our community. And I know our church, we really want to reach out to families. I mean, that's a big deal. But not just families. We're here to where our prayer is that lives will be transformed. In our community with Jesus Christ. And so but that happens one person at a time, and it comes back to relationship.
Right.
And that's why the families are so important. And how do we, who are from good families, how do we help foster that in a person who maybe doesn't have a family. And I think we need to, again, look into that and see how we can mentor, how we can bring those people, into our circle of relationship and give people opportunity that maybe wouldn't otherwise. Yeah.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming on today and talking about the drug problem within Fairfield County, and also if people would like to talk to you, a phone number they can get a hold of?
Sure, yeah, you can reach me here at the church, 740-654-0099.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in today, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number?
Absolutely.
How do I change the ringtone?
Just hook it up to your computer.
Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Does it come in silver? Can I put my party shuffle on this? Does it have a 3.5 millimeter headset jack? You sell a lot of these?
It's the one I carry.
You ever get those phantom vibrations in your pocket?
Any questions?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Ask questions. For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.